Hey guys, I have breaking news. Very much breaking news. So everybody knows this face. This is Travis Decker. He's accused of unaliving his 3 children at Rock Island Campground, and they have been chasing him ever since. I can tell you from out the gate, I did not believe that he is alive. I've always believed he's somewhere out there in Rock Island or somewhere in that general area. Well, it sounds like law enforcement is finally listening, at least in part. This has been one of the largest manhunts in Washington history, and it has spread quite the distance. However, they have not come any closer to finding Travis Decker. They have searched everywhere for Travis Decker. He's nowhere to be found. I think the only thing they've come across is items that are left by other people that are trying to aid Travis while he's on the run. However, in the latest update from law enforcement, I think they're listening because they're stating there's no certain evidence Travis Decker is alive or in Washington. However, law enforcement says despite all that, they're not going to quit searching for him because the girls deserve justice and they need to bring him home. And they say Kittitas is going to still see a large police presence, but it sounds like they're moving back to Rock Island or somewhere in between that and where they are. So what do you think? Is Travis Decker on the run, or is he lying deceased waiting to be found? I think the latter is a real possibility and has been a real possibility since the beginning. Well, hello, my beautiful people of TikTok. It's been a little while. I'm Bullhorn Betty. I cover true crime, and we're covering the manhunt for Travis Decker. If you guys have not heard, I just dropped a video. I'm going to give you kind of a spoiler alert, even though I still want you to go over and watch the video. We're hearing that it's possible law enforcement is starting to believe that he might be deceased. I truly believe, and I was talking on my channel, my YT channel earlier today, and I was expressing that, you know, that person that they saw running through the woods, they started talking about shortly thereafter about sympathizers. You guys remember that? We just started hearing about it, I don't know, middle of last week, about potential sympathizers. If you're just coming in here and have no idea who this man is, this is Travis Decker, and there is a major manhunt underway right now in the state of Washington. It has been underway since about June 2nd, when they found these beautiful angels right here, and they all 3 were deceased, and their father is responsible, at least believed to be responsible. He has not been before a court or a trial, so you know that is to be seen, but it looks like he's responsible. Anyways, he was not found with his truck, his wallet, his belongings, or his dogs, and the 3 girls were in a culvert, bound and deceased. Their manner of death is asphyxiation. The manner is homicide, and so he's been on the run since. This is Sheriff Morrison, and he's been the one that's been keeping us up to date on what has been going on, except for today. We were hearing from the Kittitas County Sheriff, if I'm pronouncing that correctly, and they're saying that it's possible he's deceased. And this is a big news for me because I was on the scene at Brian Laundrie's house through into the entire Gabby Petito scenario, and so I just had different experiences than law enforcement in this area. If you guys remember their experiences, they did have a man on the run that was out in the mountains, that was laying low to avoid law enforcement, and it took them several weeks to get that man arrested. So they've got different experiences than I do. And my experience is the Brian Laundrie case, and it was kind of similar. You know, we didn't have the mountains and stuff like that, but the environment was similar. Very thick brush, swampy though. They have mountains, we have swamps. Very dangerous. We have alligators, water moccasins, you know, a whole host of differences. But, you know, still pretty threatening terrain. to say the least. And there was another fugitive on the run over in the Carlton Reserves living off the land. Well, they ended up unearthing our search over at the Myakkahatchee Creek Environmental Park, where Brian Laundrie parked the Mustang, and that's where he kind of disappeared from. And they uprooted it and took it 45 minutes north into Venice, into Carlton Reserve, which does connect to the Myakkahatchee Creek Environmental Park on the different side. But they didn't have their people on this side and people on this side going in. They moved everybody, opened up the park and everything else. People were out there walking their dogs, enjoying the nature. And Brian Laundrie is, a few hundred feet hidden by grass, basically tall grass. That's what he was hidden from. And from above, he was hidden by this huge branch that came off this huge tree, so you couldn't see him. And there was the biggest search in Florida history for Brian Laundrie. And where was he? He was 1,500 yards from where his Mustang was parked the entire time. The reason why the heat sensors and all the bells and whistles they brought out to find him weren't working is because it was based on heat, and he was unalive and deceased in a field, so his body temperature wasn't hot to pick up on the radar. So every time they were using the heat radar, they were just passing right over him, not seeing him because he was deceased. He was cold. He matched the environment. And so that's what I was always been concerned about, because Whitney just described this broken man. No, he hasn't been found, but they're now starting to speak that he might be deceased, that they're believing he might be out there in the woods waiting to be found, which is, again, something I was reporting. I've been very, very, very cautious about this whole entire manhunt from out the gate. I've been like I said, I've got different experiences. And I'm concerned because it all kind of hit me when Whitney spoke out for the first time. And when she spoke out for the first time, she talked about her divorce. She talked about her husband. She talked about not getting the mental help he needed from the VA. And then we learn a little more about the divorce and find out that Travis Decker initiated it, citing that he felt worthless and unworthy of a family. So, this does not. But when Sheriff Morrison got involved, he was describing the possibility of this guy, having caching out there, setting this up a week in advance and all this other stuff. And I kept saying, whoa. This may not have anything to do with the other. He was, working a construction job, but he wasn't doing too well for himself. Maybe he was looking for jobs, maybe out of, in Canada. It's only, an hour drive from where they are. Maybe that was a possibility prior to him snapping. But the way Whitney described him, she described a broken man that's hopeless and helpless. They said he's still alive. I don't know, because I just read a report 32 minutes ago. You better go Google that, because I'm reading something totally different. As a matter of fact, I just read it and dropped a video on it, and they're saying that there's a real possibility he might not be. And no worries. I just want this thing to be over one way or another, deceased or not deceased. I just want some type of closure, because I feel Whitney deserves that type of closure. Whitney is the mom of these three beautiful girls, and she woke up. Well, she didn't go to bed one night because her ex-husband came to visit them, and then boom, by the end of the day, by evening, her entire world was flipped upside down. And she never had an opportunity for anything. Everything was taken from her. But I started bouncing around after we heard from Sheriff Morrison. I started kind of saying, okay, well, maybe Sheriff Morrison might know a little bit more than meets the eye. They have access to a whole lot more information than me as a layperson really has access to. And I'm sitting here thinking, okay, well, but I saw her at the most recent, the memorial for the girls, and it was beautiful. But you know what I saw? I saw a very strong woman. a woman that was in tune. This was a woman that, had her whole entire family just basically wiped off the face of the earth and was able to hold it together up there to all of these faces she didn't know. That took strength. It took courage. And it made me realize that, I was doubting her too much and putting too much weight into the sheriff's assessment. And I had to remember the sheriff has different experiences, right? He has experiences of dealing with criminals, right? On a daily basis, people that have a criminal mind and a criminal makeup. Well, sometimes these things happen, like in this situation. This is supposed to be a mental break. This might be something, he's dealing with a normal person that had a mental meltdown, not a deranged criminal mastermind. And sometimes I don't think that law enforcement is built to disconnect from their teachings. And so they fall and go right to it, and they're trained to search, and they're trained how these common criminals behave. Well, sometimes you're not dealing with common criminals, and you got to look at it from a different perspective. And I think that is really the situation here, is that, this isn't a common criminal. This is a broken man, and he's military. We know the statistics of military. The statistics of military show self-harm. His behavior shows self-harmish type of behavior. He appears to be, we're not talking about a dirtbag here, okay? Look at his life. He's a war vet. He has mental illness. He loves his children. He was at every recital, everything. That doesn't sound like a piece of crap dad. He just couldn't get over whatever he was going through. So his girls were his world. He was just at court arguing to be in those girls' life, begging the courts not to take, his rights away from seeing his children. He no longer could have them stay the night with him. That must have broke his heart. But for him to do this to me is the weakest point. And I'm not sympathizing with him at all. I'm trying to understand, but I'm trying to rationalize the information we have here and why I believe he's out there deceased and has been. I think we're going to find out this is another Brian Laundrie type of situation where shortly after he disappeared, he most likely, self-harmed. And, wherever he went is wherever he went. We all believe that this all happened on May 30th. We don't know if and when the self-harm happened, if it did. Again, this is theory-based. But law enforcement is finally starting to start speaking it. And that's important, because I truly think the person running through the mountains that they saw on the helicopter, I think that was one of the sympathizers leaving a package, and that's why they didn't want to be seen by the helicopter. Because it was shortly after that we started hearing about this sympathizers leaving some things in the woods, or in the mountains there. And so when I started hearing about that, I put the pieces together, and what I believe truly happened is they did find this stash pack. They probably found a letter in it from the sympathizer saying, Travis, we know you, whatever, bleeding heart, here's some supplies to help get you through. And then it started connecting. Then, wait a minute, we had somebody running through the woods. Is this person the sympathizer? Was he the reason why he was running from the helicopter? Could it be because he didn't want them knowing he left a stash bag for Travis? So I think that the phantom in the woods was that caused them to change the direction of their search, was in fact one of those sympathizers leaving stuff in the woods. So it goes back to, I believe this man is back at Rock Island because they most likely haven't been tracking him. And now with this new statement, wow, that's way big. And now with the new statement that we have on Travis Decker from law enforcement, it about them, the possibility of him being deceased, it's really starting to make at least plausible sense that the person out there in the mountains may not have been Travis. And so the plot kind of thickens a little bit here. Is he, because they uprooted their search to head over there to Ingalls Creek because somebody saw somebody unsuited for the conditions. Well, they were probably unsuited for the conditions because they knew they were going up there to stash a bag and heading home. And happened to be picked up by, you know, a looky-loo that felt like that person was out of place, because they never gave us a general description. We never saw the video from the helicopter to enhance ourselves to see if it could possibly be, you know, Travis. So, and they still hadn't found any DNA linking him to any of the sites that they've been talking about. And Sheriff Morrison told us that it's because they have not found him. I don't know if these people are trolls or if they really did. Are you asking? Because no, they have not found him. They have not found him. I've been seeing on social media. Hold on, let me read this. Desiree says, I've been seeing, oops, it just popped up on me again. I've been seeing on social media that a car was in the local area that he was at and possibly picked him up. Interesting. Interesting. Oh, let me get you. There you go. Have a great night. That's how we roll over here, babe. Good luck. Okay. Hey, Grace upon Grace. It's nice to see you. That's what I heard and seen. Okay. Yeah, I haven't heard that on official sources yet. I read before I came live here, 'cause I just did a video and I waited about 10 or so minutes and then came live after I did the video. And what they were saying is that it's possible that he might not be alive. And so they're looking at that as a real possibility right now. So I guess they will see. I guess we will see. But the last I heard, Sheriff Morrison said they are still waiting for some of the stuff to be processed. They're waiting for stuff to be processed, and they haven't received any DNA linking him to anything yet. And so I just assumed, and I could be wrong for assuming this, but it is an assumption of mine that with this latest, you know, possibility of him being deceased coming out from law enforcement's mouth, I'm having a funny feeling that some of the stuff that they thought would link back to Travis hasn't. By DNA. I think he's probably might have been excluded, so now they're having to relook at, you know, what they're doing. I believe he isn't alive either. So, but I'll keep you guys posted. I check this stuff all day, every day. I'm always on YouTube or here on TikTok. Or on some social media platform. So if you guys haven't followed me on other social media platforms, again, I'm Bullhorn Betty. I hope you guys are liking some of my content. I try to get this stuff out to you as quickly as humanly possible when I hear an update in the case. So we'll see you soon. God bless each and every one of you.